This is Dr. Tizio signing on. As always, the information provided on my station is for general information purposes only and should not be considered professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. I wanted to talk a little bit today about protein. This morning, I went to go make oatmeal for myself. My usual go-to for oatmeal are the old-fashioned oats, not the quick cooking ones. Quick cooking ones are highly processed, full of chemicals, and they're treated. They're not exactly whole foods, which is something that, as you get to know me, you'll find I talk a lot about. And I thought about, okay, how can I balance my carbohydrates and my protein this morning in my breakfast? And I thought, you know what? Let's try some protein powder in my oatmeal. And I started my oatmeal and I went to go put it in there. And I said, you know what? I want my raisins and my cinnamon. I like to always use cinnamon because it's very helpful for balancing out blood sugars. And anytime anybody has any kind of mitochondrial dysfunction or insulin resistance, any family history of diabetes, high blood pressure, heart disease, Alzheimer's, any of the cardiometabolic disorders, it's a good idea to pay real close attention to insulin resistance. So I went ahead and I put the little bit of protein powder in there in addition to my cinnamon and my raisins. It's okay. But the thing I don't like and have such a trouble with, and protein powders are so fast and easy and convenient. The problem is getting a good quality protein powder. And I did have somebody ask me the other day about the particular protein powder she was using. And I wanted to review it, but I don't really have a packet to go over with it. So I thought what I would do is I would review an organic protein powder that I found on the market compared to the protein powder that I usually am going to recommend for people. So without further ado, let's get a little more light in here, put some eyes on. So this particular product, there are several different products that I like to talk about for protein intake. Incidentally, just real quick, if you are using collagen, do not count them as part of your macros. I actually had a patient who I was really worried about wasting. She's like, I'm doing all the protein you told me every day. And I'm like, well, let's take a look because you're still losing weight. She pulls out a big old thing of this really expensive protein, collagen. And I'm like, no. This is not a complete protein. This is not what I'm talking about. And it gets a little frustrating sometimes as a doctor when people are out there selling things because there are a lot of things that get really popular, and so people are buying and buying and buying and buying, and they're spending all this money. And I'll tell you what, the most expensive nutraceutical that you'll ever purchase is going to be one that doesn't work. And I'm not saying collagen doesn't work. It's going to give you the basics of collagen. It's going to give you the building blocks for your body to disassemble during digestion. It breaks it up into the little pieces because it's too big to absorb. So it breaks it down, and then you have those amino acids, and then you can kind of cross your fingers and hope it gets to like your skin and the places that you're looking to build up collagen. But taking a collagen supplement, folks, no. Don't spend your money on that. If you're going to spend your money on something, come spend your money on this. Come and talk to me. Let's figure out what we can do to get you where you wanted to be health-wise, but don't spend money on collagen products. So let's get a little bit more into protein powders. And the other thing about protein powders, and yes, I do use this one. I do recommend a certain protein powders. One more quick aside that I wanted to bring up real quick about protein powders. A lot of people are using whey-based protein powders because for a lot of my patients, especially my weight loss patients, patients over the age of 65, people with wasting disorders, people who have trouble keeping weight on, I request that they have a minimum of 80 grams of protein minimum because you run into nutrient deficiencies, and if you have a protein deficiency, it causes a lot of problems. You need those proteins every day for all your activities. And I don't want to get into all the science, but that's why protein powders are such a big thing, is because protein is a very important part of your macronutrient profile. So the other one I'm going to take a look at, this is the Costco one. It's organic. Everybody's like, oh, look at that. Look at that. You know, it's got only 1 gram of sugar and it's got 21 grams of protein per serving. And look at it's got prebiotics and fibers, and prebiotics is a good thing. Probiotics in a product like this, forget about it. Okay, they're not viable. But probiotic talk is a whole nother talk all of itself. But let's talk a little bit about these protein shakes, and hopefully it'll help people out there kind of understand the difference between the different ones. So this one, it gives a very typical amino acid profile per serving. That is going to be a really important thing because you want to make sure it's balanced. There's certain ones that we make, there's essential and non-essential amino acids. And what I mean by essential versus non-essential is the amino acids that we can actually make versus amino acids that we actually have to get out of our diet. All right, and then also the other thing about this, so we'll just go through the label here and talk about it. Okay, so calories, the one I recommend is 210 calories versus 160 calories in the Costco one. And the saturated fat is 2 grams in the one I recommend, and a total of 8 grams, whereas there's 1 gram of saturated fat and 5 grams of total fat. Let's see, vitamins. So there's no vitamin D in this one. Let's see here. And when I go through and I talk to you a little bit more about multivitamins, I plan on eventually doing a discussion on multivitamins. I've got a list of things to talk to you guys about. There's only so many things I can talk to you about at once. So we'll come back and talk about that. So this one actually says there's no vitamin D in here. This one says there's no vitamin D in here. As a quick aside with vitamin D, you'll always want to make sure that your healthcare professional tests your vitamin D levels before you start taking vitamin D. So the one from Costco has calcium, potassium, vitamin C, riboflavin, B6, B12, magnesium, pathanoic acid, folate, niacin, thiamine, vitamin A, and it has iron in it. Iron's not the best. Again, testing. There is a certain amount of the population that has something called hereditary hemochromatosis. Those individuals should not be taking iron. Hopefully this is naturally occurring just in what is contained in here. In fact, when I give a multivitamin, I give one that has no iron in it specifically. And see that, so the one I prescribe for my patients has 5 milligrams of naturally occurring iron. And it actually says right on the label, naturally occurring. So that's not something that's listed on this label. Let's see here, vitamin A. So that's and when I again, I'm going to probably going through these vitamins. I'm not going to go into too much deal because I want to go through and do a whole talk just on the vitamins and a multivitamin. Both of these do have vitamins in them. The one from Costco does not tell you what form of the vitamins are in versus the one that I recommend. It's very specific about the vitamins that are in it. And I will tell you one quick cheat when it comes to selecting a multivitamin. If it does not have methyl tetrahydrofolate, it only has folic acid, it's not quality. Toss that. You're wasting your money. It's a waste of money is the issue. So this does have a much bigger vitamin profile. In fact, this goes so far as to say that, if you're taking this one regularly, we might even be able to kind of look and see if you can take less of your multivitamin because this one has the high quality. It has natural beta carotene. It has the riboflavin 5 phosphate sodium. Let's see. The one that's always just a quick cheat for me is the methyl tetrahydrofolate form. Methylcobalamin is your B12. That's a very important. You don't want to do just any old B12, especially not cyanocobalamin. It's not a bad idea to have a little bit of cyanide in your diet, but I'd rather it's because you ate an apple and you ate the seeds with it. I'd prefer you're not regularly doing a B12 that is cyanocobalamin. All right, so let's skip the vitamins. We'll save them for another day. The other thing to point out with this particular one is that it does have chromium in it. Again, that's another blood sugar thing. It helps balance the blood sugar. The other things that are included in here, besides the protein powder, is a pomegranate extract, betadine, lemon, bioflavonoids, quercetin, potassium, rutin, turmeric, NAC, ginger, MSM, which is great for joints, and green tea extract. Nice. There's a lot of cancer fighting properties in the one I recommend. Let's take a look and see what this one says. And maybe we have to look at the ingredients because let's see here. This one has an exact ingredient list. So I guess that was the ingredient list I was reading. Yeah, that is the ingredient list I read to you basically. Then there's what we call inert. So there's sunflower oil, natural flavors, no MSG, taurine glycine, cellulose, xanthan gum, fungal proteases to make sure you don't get any funguses in them, glutamine, monk fruit extract. So that's nice. Instead of doing, let's see, what is the sweetener in this one? And a lot of the times with these, the sweetener, it has erythritol. Now, there are a lot of people out there who have erythritol allergies and they don't even realize. Like, for instance, they'll have migraines, for instance. And they don't even look at the label. They think, oh, it's protein powder. It's healthy. It's really hard to find a healthy, non-prescription type of protein powder. This one, I certainly would rather do erythritol as long as you don't have a sensitivity to it. Erythritol is an alcohol sugar. So what it's going to do is and again, I know I keep saying I'm going to have to do another talk about this. And hopefully that means you'll just keep watching my station. But erythritol, that can be a common food sensitivity. So if you deal with allergies, that's probably something to talk about. Now, one of the reasons why I am actually even doing this is somebody I know asked me to review their protein shake ingredients, and it was kind of hard to do. I actually wanted to do this video with their particular shake, but unfortunately, trying to do it and do the video and get it off of the phone, it just wasn't working. So I decided to review this one. This one is probably, if you just absolutely are not willing to go with quality, and again, comes to quality, you get what you pay for. So, and it's funny, this one's like Andrew Abraham, MD, founder, cancer survivor, and food entrepreneur. So, I mean, at least he realizes that the blood sugar issue is not a good idea. In a future video, I'll talk a little bit about part of the reason I'm really against sweeteners, and that's one thing I really dislike about this. It's super sweet. This one isn't as sweet, but I am really all about whole foods, naturally sweetened type things. It does talk a lot about, this is sugar and stevia free, so that's a nice selling point. But they do use monk fruit as a sweetener, and so apparently everything has to be sweet. I don't know why protein powders have to be sweet, but they are. One thing that I wish I had known is I actually happened across a protein powder in a bin at one of the local supermarkets. I'm going to look at that and see if it's purely just pea and rice protein. And if it is pea and rice protein, that actually might, if you're looking for something inexpensive. So I'll try to get back to you on that. Okay. I think that kind of wraps it up. One other point that I forgot to mention that I did want to bring up is about whey. A lot of people are doing whey. I've never, ever come across a high quality one that has whey. If whey is your protein powder, they have done major studies on all of the different ones on the market, and they are all contaminated with heavy metals. It probably has to do with the processing, I'm guessing. Even though they always try and say, it's because they all come from the same manufacturer. I think what it is, and now this is where my biochemistry background comes into play. It's probably during the way they process the whey to purify it and remove casein and the other proteins, lactose, that type of thing. And they all contain heavy metals. There was a study. They tested every single protein on the market that had whey in it, and they were all contaminated with heavy metals. Heavy metals is not a good idea for people who, again, have any kind of mitochondrial dysfunction, who have any kind of cardiometabolic dysfunction. Again, strokes, heart attacks, diabetes. You're going to hear me talk about these things over and over again. It's pretty much one of the more common of diseases that are killing us. Dying of the diseases of kings and queens. So thanks for letting me share, and hopefully you can either find some just pea and rice protein. Vitamixers, honestly, one thing I've been thinking about is trying to make my own pea and rice protein powder and just using my Vitamixer. I love that thing. And so, thank you so much for tuning in. Have a wonderful day. And if you would like to purchase a high quality protein powder, get a hold of me. Have a great day. Bye bye.